Well, you know, I think God and Moses both just have enormous respect for each other.
White gladiator has that same right spirit as
Look, the judges are wrong. Even the Egyptian judge is impressed.
Until recently, you claimed that the earth revolved around the sun.
Hello and welcome to History Bites. I'm Rick Green. Most people think our political system produces lousy leaders. Voters complain that candidates are elected just because they look good. Mind you, the complainers are the ones who voted these incompetents into power. But if you think our present system of choosing leaders is flawed, you should have seen what it was like 1,100 years ago. Back then, the leaders were the kings and the popes. The kings came to power through birth and battle. Popes were supposed to be elected. But popes were routinely deposed, imprisoned, or murdered, and sometimes all three, to make way for a new candidate. Probably the most insane event in this tumultuous period was a trial that took place in January of 897, when the current pope, Stephen VII, put one of his papal predecessors on the stand. So let's go back to witness a church trial so strange that it can only be described in 3 words: perfect for television.
Thanks for coming, Mr. Donnelly. I realize you're a busy deacon.
I'm always happy to help the Vatican. So what's this all about?
We want you to defend a certain retired church official in an upcoming case.
What's the charge?
Charges: perjury, violating church canons, and coveting the papacy.
Sounds serious. Who's the defendant?
The name's Formosus.
But didn't Formosus die like 9 months ago?
No, 7 months. I'll leave you two to get acquainted.
Anything you say to me will be privileged and miraculous. Why did Pope Stephen pick me to represent Formosus? He could have chosen any cleric in the Vatican.
You're a good lawyer and a good deacon.
I've lost my last 6 cases.
So maybe Pope Stephen wanted to make it 7.
Yeah. Why?
Let me just say, when you get in court, consider insanity.
Have Formosus plead insanity?
No, consider Pope Stephen might be nuts.
On the network that brought you the Papal Pugilists, it's Battle of the Network Bishops, the fighters with the miters. See bishops from the rival factions you love to hate, duking it out live on Tithe Per View. Losers face excommunication and death. The winner will become Pope and get to crown the Emperor of Europe.
You're a monk. You want to show penitence and suffer for the sins of the world. But after a day of scribing, reading, farming, tithing, and fasting, who has time to show humility? Wait, don't punish yourself for not punishing yourself. Instead, get the hair shirt. This rough, itchy fabric works even while you rest. Slip the hair shirt under your robes and its coarse, itchy fibers work against you, rubbing and chafing continuously, giving you the pain and agony of a true martyr. So throw out those whips, spiked chains, and rods. And it's not just for monks. Many nobles, ashamed of their wealth and luxury, are ordering the hair shirt too.
Mr. Formosus, this is my colleague, Eleanor Fruddy. She's going to be helping me with this case.
Pleased to meet you. Okay. Well, the thing is this, Mr. Formosus. We are sworn to do the best job we can defending. The charges here are very serious. You could get life. Although, I suppose for you, that would be okay.
Is there any truth to the charges of perjury and coveting the papacy? If you did commit perjury or covet the papacy, it's in your best interest to tell us. Look, Mr. Formosus, Your Ex-Holiness, you're not making my job any easier here.
Please, help us to help you. Yes?
Okay, I think I get the picture here. If you have a change of heart, call me.
Ironically, Formosus was a great pope, but he only survived for a while. Between the years 896 and 904, there were 9 popes, an average of 1 a year. One was poisoned, and when the poison didn't work quickly enough, they beat his head in with hammers. Another had his eyes, nose, lips, and hands removed. Another died in bed, killed by the jealous husband of the woman he was sinning with. But even in that corrupt atmosphere, the trial of Formosus struck most church officials as beyond weird.
This whole case stinks.
Starting with your client.
You know, these are serious charges, but Formosus is not willing to talk. I mean, why? He just came back from the grave. You know how few people get that chance?
You think he's trying to protect someone?
Maybe. The new Pope's prosecutors must know something.
Well, they wouldn't be bringing charges if they didn't. You think we should talk to Formosus' staff?
Oh, I already tried, but it didn't say any more than his body did.
I meant the people who worked for him.
Right.
I don't get it, Mr. Olafson. Your dishes always seem to sparkle more than mine do at home. How do you get them so clean?
Ancient Viking secret.
My husband, some hotshot. Here's his ancient Viking secret, new improved Calgon. It's #1, literally. Calgon brand cow's urine is high in ammonia, so it cuts through dirt like a battle axe through a peasant and leaves dishes smelling salty and sweet.
Ancient Viking secret, huh?
This Friday on 2020.
Here in Rome, they are calling it the trial of the century. But has modern justice gone too far? Why would Pope Stephen put a deceased rival on trial? Is Pope Stephen crazy? I put these questions to the bones of St. Andrew, and the reprise I receive from these holy relics, in dreams and visions, may surprise you.
Did you ever witness Mr. Formosus perjuring himself during his reign as Pope?
Oh!
Did you ever see him tell a lie or break a promise?
Oh! No, he was a good man. He was very honest, you know.
Okay then, do you know any reason why these charges might have been brought against him?
No, I know nothing. He was a good man. He even wore one of those hair shirts, you know, the itchy ones that the monks wear.
Sounds pretty devout. You sure about this? I believe you. And so will a jury.
I no testify. No court.
Why not? Who are you afraid of? Who
I don't
are
know
you?
Nothing. I have to go.
Who would be angry to hear that the ex-pope was a pious man? The current pope.
Coming up, dead man walking with a little help. In 897 AD, Pope Stephen had his dead predecessor, Pope Formosus, dug up and put on trial. Now, you may think this is madness. I mean, the poor guy's already had one death sentence, but there was more than personal vengeance involved. Back then, each papal candidate was backed by a kind of political party, groups of nobles who wanted to see their pope in power. Stephen belonged to a different party than Formosus, so when he came to power, he tried to consolidate his position by discrediting the previous guy. Of course, it's one thing to dig up the dirt on your opponent. It's another thing to dig up the opponent.
I've heard the same story from 20 people. Formosus was decent, honest, intelligent, charitable, devout. I mean, in this day and age, it's incredible he made it to Pope.
I've just had a little chat with the DA.
Devil's advocate?
Yeah. He says Formosus might even be a candidate for sainthood.
Bobby, you've got to drop this Formosus case.
Drop it.
I have a friend, high up at the Vatican, and he said there's a little problem. It's Pope Stephen.
What about him?
Pope Stephen is the one laying the charges against Formosus. He's throwing the holy book at him.
But Pope Stephen hired me to defend Formosus.
Because he thinks you'll lose. Stephen hates Formosus, has done for years. There are huge factional rivalries involved. Look at these files. They show the years that the last 6 popes came to power.
882, 884, 885, 891, 896, and another one in 896.
If you miss one pope, Wait 5 minutes and another one will come along.
Ever since Pope Leo crowned Charlemagne, rival political groups all over Europe will stop at nothing to get their candidate elected pope.
So their pope will crown one of their nobles as emperor. One hand blesses the other.
Formosus and Stephen were from rival groups. Bobby, I think this whole trial is just an attempt by Pope Stephen to make Formosus look bad.
Believe me, he looks bad already.
Okay, but I was hired to defend Formosus in a court case, and this information doesn't affect the case.
There's one more thing. The judge in this trial will be Pope Stephen. Bobby, you can't win this case.
She's right. We have to drop it.
I can't. Everything I've learned tells me Formosus is innocent. He's got all the qualifications for sainthood, including good deeds and being dead.
Still unable to flush a boar, this boar hunt has become a boring hunt. The woods should be teeming with game, but not today. Wait, he spotted movement. It's a poacher, yes. No wonder there's no game. Well, he's got game now. He's pounding that poacher. He could score reward from the Lord. Poacher wanted.
A week, Ray. You have to publicly announce your wedding 1 week ahead of time.
Yeah, well, when my mom hears we're getting married, this week will last 10 years.
It's the law, Ray, to prevent, you know, accidentally inbreeding.
I don't get it.
Having marital relations.
Yeah? What?
Relation.
Oh, hey, look. I shared a bed with my brother for 15 years. Trust me, no laws required. No. I'm just saying whoever came up with this law has a dirty mind.
The law was created by Charlemagne, only the greatest leader of the past 500 years.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And did Charlemagne have to announce his marriage a week ahead of time?
No, because he knew who his parents were. They were royalty. And royalty is already totally inbred.
And in short, Pope Stephen, I intend to show that the charges against my client are wholly unfounded. Thank you. Oh, that's wholly with a W.
I now call on the counsel for the prosecution to make his opening statement.
Nice work, Bobby.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will be conducting the prosecution for this case.
Objection, Your Holiness. You can't be prosecution and judge.
Your Honor, I believe I can handle both jobs.
Overruled. I'm willing to accept the prosecution's assurances on this issue, Mr. Donnelly. Prosecution will continue.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Don't let it rattle you.
If you think the trial of Pope Formosus is uncivilized, remember that at least it was a trial. As Europe emerged from the Dark Ages, any kind of law and order was welcomed. Now, a century earlier, Charlemagne, the greatest of the Frankish kings, had conquered and consolidated most of Western Europe. He then established and enforced customs and rules to control his empire. But after he united the Franks, some of the laws that he had established actually started making France less united.
Andy, you're not going to believe it. You just won't believe it. It looks like I'm moving up in the world. I just received a huge inheritance.
Well, congratulations, Barney. Ain't that something?
Yeah.
Well, now, I guess you'll be moving out of that little broken-down hut on down by the swamp, huh?
Oh, you betcha. Once I figure out what I inherited through all these papers here. Should be quite a spread, though. Oh, yeah, my great-grandpapa, he was the lord of all Mayberg.
All of Mayberg. Well, that's as far as the eye can see.
Yeah. Of course, when he died, he had it divided amongst his 12 sons, you know. Yeah. My grandpappy was one of them. Andy, can you read?
Well, sure, Barney, sure.
Oh, good.
You know, still, a 12th of Mayberg's a respectable piece of land.
Of course, you know, I won't get the whole 12 because my grandpappy, he had 14 sons, you know.
Yeah, sure, that there was the Frankish way to divide it up among the sons.
It's tradition.
Exactly. So let's see, that's 1/14 of 1/12 of Mayberg. All comes to me. Well, to me and my brothers.
Your brothers?
Yeah, all 26 of them. Oh, my pappy, he was one busy fella. He went through 5 wives.
I think I'm beginning to guess what he died of.
Well, Randy, don't keep me in suspense. How much exactly do I end up with?
Well, now, Barney, it looks like here that you're going to end up with probably one little broken down hut beside the swamp.
You know, it used to be that we used to get attacked by Vikings and Poles and Hungarians. You never know which people are going to attack you, you know? Yeah, but then all of Europe was brought together by Charlemagne and his Franks. Yeah, and then, of course, he divided the kingdom up between all his sons. So now it's much simpler. Oh, yeah. Now we get attacked by Eastern Franks and Western Franks and Middle Franks.
Accidentally inbreeding?
Well, you know what it's like. Most couples just live together.
Yeah.
Men get around.
Ah, yeah.
You know, wives, mistresses, previous marriages, bigamy, bastard children. And nobody writes anything down. And if they did, nobody else would know how to read it.
Yeah.
Small towns, you know. Sometimes people, you know, lose track of who's related to who, and then people need a few days to figure out if a marriage is okay.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't your dad remarried twice or something?
Yeah, and my mom 3 times.
Really?
Yeah.
Marie was married before? 2 husbands died?
Yeah, well, they actually might have been pretending, but, yeah.
I call the former Pope, known as Formosus, to the stand.
Your Honor, in light of my client's physical condition, he would like to take the 5th.
That is not acceptable, Deacon Donnelly. Your client's testimony is vital to this case.
But my client is incapable of speaking.
If your client doesn't answer, I will take this as an admission of guilt.
Trust me, Formosus is not going to talk.
Then you, as his counsel, will answer on his behalf.
In that case, I need more evidence for the defense. I'd like to ask for an adjournment.
Deacon Donnelly, the defendant has been brought here at great personal inconvenience and expense.
But
his physical state grows worse by the day.
But
I'm not willing to tolerate further delays.
But how can I answer questions for him? I don't know what he knows.
Deacon Donnelly, you were hired by me to represent this man. Now you will do so.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Holiness!
Your Holiness. Sorry.
Even by medieval standards, the trial of Pope Formosus was downright medieval. The accused man was dead, a lowly church deacon was ordered to stand behind the corpse and speak for him, the judge, jury, and prosecutor were all Pope Stephen, and dozens of church officials had to sit for days on end and watch Stephen's screaming tirades against a young ventriloquist and his dead Pope dummy. They tried very hard not to interrupt the proceedings and ask, "What in God's name's going on here?"
Well, Pope Formosus. I hope we are not dragging you away from anything important. Now, did you commit perjury?
No.
I'm not asking you, I'm asking him.
I was answering for him.
Well, is it too much to ask for you to do it in a different voice? Maybe an old voice?
Look, this is ridiculous.
Fine. Your Honor?
Yes, Deacon Donnelly, answer in an appropriate manner.
Fine.
No, I didn't commit perjury.
And I suppose you also claim you didn't covet the papacy?
That's right.
And yet you became Pope? Could you become Pope without wanting the job?
I don't know. Maybe I was the only choice.
You don't know?
No.
You do know, Formosus! I know what you're up to, making plots down there in hell! Plots against me! You want your old job back, don't you? Well, it's not going to happen, Formosus, admit it! I know what you've been doing beyond the grave. You have women down there in hell, don't you? Fallen women! Oh yes! Are you down to what your large-breasted demon twallops? Well, answer me! Answer me!
No, I don't, I swear. Cross my heart and hope to die.
It's too late for that, Formosus!
Ouch.
I know what you're thinking. Did he give the rack 6 turns or only 5? Well, to tell you the truth, in all this torturing, I've kind of lost track myself. But being as this is a 44-man stretcher, the most powerful rack for torturing in the Christian world, would pull your limbs clean off. You've got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel blessed?
No. Gee, Joey, the Lord wouldn't like us gathering wood here. But our Lord in heaven wants us to have warmth and shelter.
The Lord who owns these woods doesn't.
Our Lord has knights too, and they'll protect us.
Oh, Joey, knights don't battle other knights. They kill unarmed serfs and slaves. Without serfs, no farming. No farming, no food. Without food, the enemy starves. It's economic warfare.
That's not honorable.
Maybe. But it works.
Does the defense have anything more to say?
Yes, Your Honor. I have not been given the opportunity to present my case. This whole trial has been a sham, and my client has been found guilty.
Enough! Another outburst like that, Mr. Donnelly, and I will hold you in contempt of God and me! Is that clear?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm innocent. It's a bum rap.
And that goes for you too, Formosus. Well, if that's all, I will pass sentence. Mr. Formosus, I am horrified and disgusted by the facts I have heard presented in this trial. I have no alternative but to sentence you to be unpoped. All your papal acts will be reversed, your pope-blessing fingers will be cut off, your body will be dumped in the river Tiber.
After the trial of Formosus, it became obvious to all that Pope Stephen VII was a 24-carat nutcase. Within months, he was deposed, imprisoned, and strangled. The Pope who followed, Theodore II, lasted all of 20 days, but that was enough time to hold another trial in which the results of the previous trial were declared null and void. He was followed by John IX, who also nullified the Formosus trial. Alas, there's no rest for the blessed. In fact, the next Pope, Sergius III, said that Formosus was guilty again. After that, everyone kind of lost interest. But it proved that even when you're history bites.
I heard about the Formosus verdict.
I blew it. I should have called more witnesses. Live ones.
If it's any consolation, you won in the court of public opinion. Have you seen this morning's mob? They are furious at the verdict. This could be it for Pope Stephen.
Thanks to you, an incompetent pope has been exposed. It's just a matter of time before he's punished.
Yeah, but thanks to me, an innocent corpse lost his fingers and was sent up the river.